4G Talks, an ICT initiative which promises to get inspiring stories and brilliant speakers on board each episode. I am Shavinder Kaur, the brand head of this show. Please welcome Advocate Pooja Dhar, a practicing advocate at Supreme Court of India.
Hello, Shavinder. Thanks for having me on the show.
Great, and thank you for joining us. So before we start our conversation, I want my viewers to know more about Advocate Pooja. Well, she is a practicing advocate before the Supreme Court of India, and she has about 18 years of experience of litigation and has dealt with variety of cases across different branches of law. She is passionate women's empowerment personally and regularly deals with cases relating to women's right. Some of the cases she has dealt with, which includes a grant of permanent commission to women officers in armed forces and cases relating to sexual harassment at the workplace. Well, I really enjoyed reading all this because I am a 4G kid and a 4G wife, and my co-sister is a 4G herself, you know. So it's so good to read and know about you so well. So let's start the discussion. I really want to know how can we use law as a tool to enforce and enhance rights of women.
See, Shavi, I would say law is a very important tool for enhancement of women rights and more power and more benefits to be given to the women. See, as far as our constitution is concerned, that itself provides for making of special provisions for women, which will not, special provision for women, which will not amount to discrimination. So Article 15 itself says that legislation can make laws which are for the benefits of the women and children. Now, there are various laws which the legislation itself has made various laws for the benefit of the women. Because as you know, for centuries, because of the patriarchy and because of the way the women were treated in our country and the world over, not just our country, everywhere. So women were subdued, and there were various customs and provisions which were completely against women. And legislation has made various laws for the benefit of the women. I would give you an example, be it dowry prohibition, sati was abolished, dowry prohibition happened, prevention of women against domestic violence. So there are several variety of laws which women oriented laws, which we call, have been made by it. But more important than the legislation, I would say our Supreme Court is one of the most powerful courts in the world, has laid down variety of given judgments which really has empowered women. And a woman can stand up for herself and go to a court, and there are so many cases where court has given and because of which women have been able to break the glass ceiling, have come up in society and just have been able to stand up on their own feet because of this. And I will give you I can give you several examples for that. I would say, there are a lot of areas where the customs are against women. I would give you an example of Sabrimala. We just recently had the judgment of Sabrimala, where court held that faith cannot be gender based. So a woman can also go to a shrine and go ahead. So in spite of there being a long custom of women not being able to enter the shrine, Sabrimala shrine, they were allowed to get in. Then I will give you an example of triple talaq, where for the women, court has stood up and given them the rights, had said that triple talaq is illegal. Then there are various cases where there is no provision of law. Sexual harassment at workplace. So, in fact, in 1996, in the Vishaka judgment, Supreme Court had laid down the guidelines. Legislation made the law, it's only in 2013, but 1996 Supreme Court had laid down because there were no provisions for that, and women were facing issues and facing various problems. So court stood up for the working women and said that no, there should be guidelines where the women should be protected at workplace. Then there are examples where there is a provision, but it is against the women, like permanent commission. So where male officers, male short service commissions were commission officers were granted permanent commission. There were women officers, their own counterparts, who were as meritorious as the male counterparts, were not granted permanent commission. So the women, and last year we really had a thumping judgment where women were granted permanent commission. I would say court has really, law can actually be used as a tool, and where women are slowly and steadily are progressing in the society and using law as a tool. And if you can see, even court has also held that choice of, having your choice of whether you want to have a child, not have a child, that is also a woman. That's also a fundamental right of a woman.
Yeah.
So, law is a very important tool, I would say.
Brilliant. I mean, the examples which you've just mentioned, they are actually a milestone in the decision making of the Supreme Court. And I'm sure these tools will definitely help the women to understand her right and use it judicially, So,
there's a saying, I will just interrupt you here. There's a saying which says that, if a woman stands for herself, she is not just standing for herself, she's standing for all the women across.
Absolutely. There is no two ways about it. Absolutely. So while you were mentioning about, tools that it enhances, so what are some leading cases, can you just tell me, where court have held in favor of women's right, apart from what you said?
So these are the leading cases, I would say that, leading cases, recently, we have had this permanent commission. It's the most important judgment talked about right now, women getting that thing, and even in armed forces. See, these are not the conventional professions which the women were. Like earlier, they would say, okay, a woman, okay, at max, okay, we'll be a nurse, be a teacher, at max become a doctor. That was what the conventional professions for the women. Now, even combat, women are going there. And getting the permanent commission is actually achieving a greater objective and greater heights, and you're actually breaking the target. So in my opinion, this is one of the biggest judgment which has come for the rights of the women, where even in armed forces, now women have got this thing for getting a permanent commission, which was not there earlier. Then apart from that, there have been various judgments of the Supreme Court, like I earlier mentioned, with regard to the Sabrimala, Vishaka judgment. Then there have been, even with regard to the custody rights, Supreme Court has only held that a child below the age of 5 mother will automatically get the custody. That was also because one woman went there and because her husband was not letting. So, every time a woman stands up and goes for her rights, you get a judgment. Courts are in your favor. And this is when in Supreme Court, we have had only 8 women judges. And, Supreme Court standing up for the women rights, it's commendable.
Well, I was reading your bio. I also read that you were instrumental in getting, a grant of permanent commission to many women officers. This is a very close, a topic very close to us, to our family, because my younger brother is, as I told, married to a Fauji, and she was also, fighting for the case. So what were the challenges as an advocate that you felt,
See, I would say when these women went to the High Court for the first time asking for the permanent commission, they were not even aware what it is. They just went because they were so passionate about their thing that they did not want to leave. They did not want to leave army after 14 years. They wanted to continue. They wanted to be a part of it. So, it has been such a long journey from High Court to Supreme Court. And it was armed forces, I would say both Army and Navy were so much against giving the permanent commission to women. And one of the incidents I'll tell you, it was like after the filing of the case, we got to know that it was in 1999. There was one presidential assent which we were not even aware of. It was not brought to light that women were given as a legislative measure. There was a presidential assent where they said that, okay, fine, women should be granted permanent commission. And armed forces being a totally closed boys group, it was never even brought to light. So how we discovered document after document, it was amazing journey, I would say. And how Supreme Court gave us such a patient hearing, and after going through all the achievements which these women officers, how brilliant these were, and how passionate, I would say we learned so much. As an advocate, I learned so much from these women. These women were so inspiring, from such a young age. And even for Air Force, Navy, armed forces. So it was a very beautiful journey, I would say. We are still fighting for it, because now a lot of women have still not got the permanent commission, and we are still saying that there has been a bias. But okay, that is something which gradually it will work it out.
Great, because and then it's so nice to hear a couple of very good newses which are coming across, that women can now give exam for NDA, and they can have a full colonel's rank apart from the services. Like we belong from the services corps, so this is really good. And I have very close friends who are Fauji themselves, and they are so excited now कि ठीक है अभी हम भी CEO बन सकते हैं, so that's
and the kind of things you learn from them, these people are no less from their I have one officer whom I represent. She got that sword of honor which they get, because she was the one in her entire batch. She was the best cadet, and she was the one who got it. And there were 6 or 7 women who went around the whole world in that small ship. So, you hear about these things and you feel even physically, earlier they used to say that, okay, women can't go to combat, or they can't even, go. There was a woman who was actually, who was there at the time of the Kargil war, and she was making those bunkers. Though she was an engineer, but she was all there making those bunkers for the soldiers right there in the middle of the combat. So, these are very awe-inspiring incidents which you hear from these women. And it was really sad to know that after 14 years, 10 plus 2, depending, after 10 years, they would ask, okay, now you go back, which was really sad.
Absolutely, that's a very sad thing, and then they realize, hum na idhar ke na udhar ke. So that's when they really want to be thinking about it. So, and hats off to all the advocates, the lady advocates who are helping them to, fight their cases. And I'm sure you all are doing a brilliant work for them, That's how things can move forward, and we can break the kind of monotony that this cannot happen or this cannot happen. I mean, they are equally privileged,
See, any profession, I would say, until and unless women don't reach the top, it will not inspire other younger girls to enter that particular profession. So until and unless we don't have, women commodores or army chiefs, or how will it inspire even more women to join it? You don't want to get into something and then stagnate at a particular level. So we need to go out there.
Yes, we have ample examples of brilliant officers, or maybe, any and everybody, women in different field are doing exemplary work, So my question is like, what is the importance of increasing representation of women in judiciary?
Well, this is again one question which is very important here, because you understand one thing: we are 50% of the population in this country is women constitute 50% of the population, and if you see the representation in judiciary, it's hardly anything. Like I would say, in 74 years after independence, we have had only 8 women judges in Supreme Court. There are only 76 or 78 women across all the high courts. So, you are not giving adequate representation to the population, which constitutes your 50%. So, there has to be some kind of a representation where women can also come up. They can also achieve women will have a better focus in terms of dealing with the women population. Every time, why do we have this representation thing that parliament should have adequate representation from every state? uh, Even in Supreme Court, we say that every state should have judges. There is an adequate number of quota when you see with regard to the population. Then why not women? Why not adequate representation for women? You talk about 33% representation of women in parliament. You are talking about it, every political party is talking about it, but when it finally comes to implementing it, even with this government which implements laws like within 5 minutes, they have also not implemented it. So this patriarchy of having getting women into it, because what you are is you are not getting the merit. You can't have everything from the 50% of the population. If you see uh, metro cities, if you see lower judiciary, there it is a selection based examination. I would say in Delhi judicial services, there is an adequate representation of women because there is a selection. Women are as meritorious as their male counterparts. They are competing and they are coming. But when it comes to High Court and Supreme Court, it is a selection based. So which actually shows our patriarchy. If women progress, then the whole country will progress, because you can't let only 50% of your population progress. And again, it's about now there is adequate representation of women lawyers in the country. Then why not in the judiciary? You can't be just having a very minuscule percentage of women judges. That you can't have. And you can't say that women are not meritorious, because everywhere you go, and thankfully for the first time now, after 80 years, we will have a first women Chief Justice.
Yes,
So thankfully she'll be elevated. Yes.
Yes, I was just going to mention that the CGI will proudly we can say that.
Yes, we can now say, but that is so sad to say. It took us 80 years to make by the time she'll become a Chief Justice, it has taken us 80 years to make us women Chief Justice. It's not that she's not competent. We had Justice Ruma Pal, who was one of the best judges we have ever had in Supreme Court. So right now, as of now, next week we'll have more women judges. We just have one woman judge in Supreme Court. So there is a necessity, because women will have more empathy. Women will have more a different approach for looking at a case, which will definitely be better. And I would say you need an adequate representation everywhere, in every field, and which will encourage younger lot to join the profession, which will encourage younger lot to become more lawyers, more women judges. That's how you will progress. And any country will progress when the entire population is progressing.
Yes, that's where the gender equality will matter, that's what we are talking about all together. That's wonderful. We are towards the conversation. I also want to know the changing role of women in today's society. What, according to you, is the take on that?
See, I would say women are actually in every field of law, in every field, women are coming up, and every field, women are, basically, if you say they are walking shoulder to shoulder with men, in some cases even better than men they are. And now women are not just confined to home. Women is not just, they are actually flying high and achieving their dreams. In fact, I would say a woman is taking care of the house, taking care of the profession, taking care of everything. They are, if you give them the wings to fly, they can achieve everything in the world. And that is, I would say, that is something which is really beneficial. And if a woman progresses, everybody will progress. If a woman is happy, whole family is happy. If a woman is happy, the whole world is happy. And I would say everybody should encourage, be it, the government, and they should make more laws for in favor of the women. And I feel there's a need for change for the society as a whole, and accept women, that she's just not somebody who has to be kept at home and just, take care of the house and the children. And the way things are going, and the way now throughout the world, we have women scientists, we have women in every aspect of life, and they are very meritorious. So that will actually lead to a very beautiful world if women are also given the opportunity and wings to fly.
That is absolutely very rightly said, that let's give right to everybody the freedom to live and to explore and to grow, and why not women in that case. So
Yes.
that's very true. Just towards the end of the discussion, I want to ask one last question. What is your advice to young girls of the generation? What tips would you like to give them in totality for life?
I would say that work very hard and just follow your dreams. Be passionate about everything you do, and you will achieve any dream you have. But work hard, work very hard. That's the key. That's the key for everything in life.
So true. I mean, there are no shortcut to success,
There are
and
no shortcuts. There are no shortcuts to success. There are no shortcuts
absolutely.
to success.
Thank you so much. I just loved listening to what all you have mentioned, and I'm sure our viewers will get benefited. And thank you once again for taking out your time, Advocate Pooja, and
Thank you.
being a part of this women's special series. Choose to challenge. People like you are example where we love to host speakers like you. And thank you once again.
Thank you, Chevy. Thanks a lot.
So if you wish to share your inspiring stories, please contact me at shabby@e4gtalks.com. I thank all our viewers. Please like, share, subscribe to our channel, and do not forget to mention your views on this particular show that we hosted today. For more interesting stories, please stay tuned. Jai Hind.
E4G Talks is brought to you by ISECI, Indian Ex-Defence Service Employees Chamber of Commerce and Industries. Thanks to its vast veteran network and global and pan-India associates, ISECI can carry out various commerce facilitations and CSR projects across India and the world. Some of ISECI's core capability areas are Skill India, Atmanirbhar Bharat, Digital India, any ex-serviceman welfare or job program, Swachh Bharat Abhiyan related projects, telemedicine and healthcare training and job scheme, Save Water scheme, defense industry SME, MSME cluster and hub development, maritime training and inland water training with job facilitation, Canada study, job and permanent residency opportunity, e-commerce, Andaman and Nicobar commerce opportunities. ISECI's global reach includes countries like Indonesia, Slovakia, Canada, Nepal, Singapore, Rwanda, USA, UK. Above all, it is ISECI's effort to create a veterans brand made by the veterans, for the veterans and made up of the veterans. Every Indian's support is invaluable in this journey. ISECI is a registered society for ex-servicemen's welfare and envisions that every veteran should be a part of India's economic growth story. It is the aim of ISECI to create an enabling commerce platform that will empower and synergize the veterans' talent pool. This is possible only with the support of entrepreneurs, businesses and consultants from civil society. All proceeds, if any, are utilized for the welfare of ex-servicemen and for public charity.